Okay, very good. Now we have the third presentation, strengthening cyber resilience in Libya, challenges, opportunities, and strategies to protect critical infrastructures by Mohammed Hadrami من Data Protect. محمد حضرامي, Data Protect. Please أفسحي لك الطريق للبرزنتيشن. مرحبا، شكرا لك. وعليكم السلام يا أستاذ. تفضل يا أستاذ.
السلام عليكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So I'm honored to be present in the second edition of Libya Tech Forum. I was here in the last edition and I had to talk about new SOC, new generation SOC. Today it won't be regarding a specific product or services, but mainly some observations and also some recommendations in order to enhance cybersecurity for critical infrastructure. So just to have an idea about starting the presentation, a global cybersecurity landscape, and I don't need to say it, but all we know that cyber threats are rising around the world, and cyber threat has increased by 300% since 2020. Much of things start and continue being connected. We are talking about connected industry. We are talking about digital payment. We are talking about connection also in healthcare services, and all those improvements put us in front of cyber threats and cyber criminals. Also, all these threats have an impact, an economic impact, and different studies show that cyber crime projects to increase to $10.5 trillion by 2025, and the number is still increasing years after year. And when we talk about the Libyan context, it's a context of different countries also. When we see our context in Africa, for example, based in Morocco for myself, and having visited more than 20 countries around the continent, what we observe is mainly the same thing. We are trying to catch all the evolution that digital transformation have in different countries, but we have a lack of infrastructure to protect our critical institutions. I'm talking about oil and gas, about electricity grid, for example, about transportations, about medical and healthcare also. So we'll try during this conference to raise awareness about cybersecurity by presenting different types of attacks. I will try to do my best to propose some solutions regarding what I've seen as Data Protect in different contexts, as we're also assisting a lot of in critical infrastructures in different countries, and also talking about collaboration with different entities. I've took three big examples of critical institutions and critical infrastructure. Energy sector, power grid, telecommunication, but we have also other critical institutions. For example, when I talk about Moroccan context, we have a lot of ministries. All the ministries are considered as critical institutions. We have also healthcare, I said, banking sector, insurance, payment establishments also. Energy sectors have just one example, for example, we have seen several years ago. The attack that has Aramco in Arabia Saudi, for example, and then we have a malware that have encrypted and lake of data of more than 3,000 endpoints and laptops and computers, for example, and it has big impacts on the operations in this company. In power grid, for example, which is one of the most institutions targeted by cybercrimes, and we talk about, for example, the Ukrainian power grid institution that had been attacked in 2025, and that put all the country, for example, in a lockdown for several hours and several days for some regions also. And also we have telecommunications, which is one of the most companies in domain and fields are targeted. And for example, we can see Telefonica, which is a Spain company, in 2017, ransomware have blocked the company for several weeks, and the company had to pay the ransom as money in order to get back all the data encrypted. Those are most attacks in different infrastructure and critical infrastructure, and that shows the new wave of cyber attacks that we start to face a few years ago. When we see the timeline of different attacks that started with the attacks that targeted personal computers, we have attacks after that start targeting companies, and now as we start having Industry 4.0 that is connected to different components of our information system. Our industrial platforms also had been targeted and start to be targeted by different cyber criminals. I wanted to talk about the CMM review for Libya in 2023. So the CMM is the Cyber Security Capacity Maturity Model. It is a study launched by Oxford University for different countries around the world. You can visit the website to have different reports. And when you talk about the Libyan context, it shows that the report shows lack of regulations, lack of alignment with international laws and regulations also, and also we will see we are talking about different funding lacks also regarding the cybersecurity. And the model is based on 5 dimensions in order to address all the cybersecurity perspective. We are talking about technology, about regulation, about enhancing cybersecurity cultures among also the society. We are talking about skills, and those domains englobe all the cybersecurity level, and we try to have some recommendation also to enhance this. So for the regulatory framework analysis, I've been in Libya few months ago. I've met a lot of institutions there, mainly in banking sector, for example, that is well established in the cybersecurity as we start having regulations also. But when we talk about a law on cybersecurity in the country, we don't have a specific law dedicated to cybersecurity that will address the cyber crimes, for example, in this area. And this point is very important, as when we have a cyber crime, we don't need to handle this as a civil crime, for example, and handle it with the standard regulations. Also, I'm talking about enforcement gap. I see that in Libya, for example, we have NISA, which is National Information System and Safety, Information System Security and Safety, and the enforcement should have any guidance or text that will put the frame that will push companies to be compliant with different cybersecurity regulations. We can also have it by sector. For example, we can have regulations and guidance for banking. We can have regulations and guidance for oil and gas. We can have, for example, guidance for the healthcare institutions. It will be interesting also that will put a kind of frame in which we will push national institutions to enhance their cybersecurity and protecting their data. And also the alignment with international regulations. We are talking mainly about data privacy, for example, when we see different regulations and guidance in different countries. Talent shortage, not specific to. It's okay. Okay, sorry. Talent shortage, not specific to Libya. The whole worldwide, we have lack of cybersecurity skills and talents. In Data Protect, we have developed the Cybersecurity Skills Lab. an initiative that help our customers in the institutions in which we are working to have talents and skill on cybersecurity. We are working also on a government initiative that aim to have more than 1,500 cybersecurity skills in the country. And without skills, we can have the regulations, we can have the best technology of the world, but without the skill that will manage these cybersecurity technologies, all the investments we are doing is in vain. And also we are talking about our limited funding in order to push companies also to have a cybersecurity budget dedicated to investing in cybersecurity. It could be regarding the governance, it could be for the training and skills, and also it can be for investing on some technologies like we have seen Cisco or Fortinet before. So the international support is important in those cases, and I'm seeing the example of different countries, for example, that have called for funds from the African Bank of Development, for example, or the PNUD or the International Monetary, for example, in order to have funds to invest in enhanced cybersecurity. It can be for the technology part also, but also for training and enhancing cybersecurity skills in the country. Education is very important when we are talking about cybersecurity maturity model. In Data Protect, for example, our example, for example, when we try to hire people dedicated to cybersecurity, we can find any senior or qualified resources, as a lot of our people, skilled people, go to Europe, for example, or America, for example, for other professional opportunities. So what we have did, and this is an example that I will mainly recommend, we have built the partnership with a lot of universities and faculties and engineer schools in Morocco. This partnership helped us build cybersecurity skills by giving those universities a cybersecurity program and helping them delivering it also to those young people. And we can also launch in public campaigns. This mainly not for the skills, but to raise awareness in the public sector, for example, for the different citizens. We are working with the Moroccan government, for example, in a program called E-Himaya, which is the protection, Arabic word for protection. For E-Himaya, we are developing video capsules, for example, that we display in different universities, schools, and also in public television, and also to enhance cybersecurity in public, to make people aware about the risk when they are using the social media, personal emails or telephones or other ways to communicate in using the cyberspace. So to enhance cybersecurity, we have to detect and be aware about the different risks. That's why I'm talking about the vulnerability scanning, penetration testing, compliance check, and threat modeling, in order to be able to have the visibility of the threats we are facing. And without this, we can invest in different technology, but we don't know exactly what are we protecting. So we have to know to have those kind of visibility. And when I was talking about regulation and guidance, for example, the recommendation is have a specific law that will be mandatory for a specific sector. I'm talking about energy, I'm talking about banking, for example, to have as the guidance to mandate doing penetration testing and vulnerability scanning for a periodic time during the year. And also, when we have the technical part, we have also the GRC part, and the alignment with different standards in the international level is also important, as ISO, for example, 27001, 27005 for the risk assessment. I'm talking about NIST framework, which is also important in having a lot of recommendation, and also the GDPR alignment for the personal data protection. I've seen a lot of initiatives in our region, and for example, similar for NISA, for example, different countries that are putting incident risk plan for different institutions, critical institutions mainly, by doing cyber drills. And I saw in the NISA, for example, website that they have run a lot of cyber drills. It is really important for this institution to be prepared to face a cyber incident. Preparing this is kind of a scenario that we can put, and we, as a game or play, or for example, in order to see what is the impact of a cyber incident when it happens, how are we prepared to detect this incident. Once it is detected, how we can respond, and after that, what are the lessons learned from the incident in order to improve different points in which we have a lack. Before the last one, I think, it is the call to action for different institutions. Cybersecurity, when we saw in different countries, is not a matter of government. It's something that can be complementary between the public sector and the private sector. The government part is for the law, for the regulations, for the guidance, and the private sector is very important because we have less lack of budgets, and we can invest in different solutions in helping also public institutions to improve their cybersecurity by calling for the international partnership, for example, and enhancing and pushing for the international cooperation by calling specialists like we have seen this morning with the Splunk, Cisco, or for example by Fortinet as examples. I think I'm done with my 20 minutes. It's okay? Good. I did my best to with time.
If anyone has any questions for Mr. Mohammed Hadrami, mics are here. They can be uncomfortable questions, that's okay. As long as they're not long questions. No?
أنا مستعد للإحراج أيضا يعني ما في مشكلة.
أسئلة محرجة للسيد محمد حضرامي حتى أهم شيء تكون قصيرة. No? Okay, then a big round of applause for Mr. Hadrami.
Thank you very much.
And